Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Express, which is becoming everyone's favorite talk show. It is profoundly real and interesting, so without any further delay, please help me welcome back to the stage the beautiful and expressive director of Express, Carolyn. Carolyn, take it away.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Express. Express, hosted by Carolyn. Thank you for being here. I am so glad that you were able to take the time to come back to listen to our episode here. And our guest today is Ms. Juanita Kraft. Before I go any further, though, let me ask you to share, like, and subscribe. The reason why you're going to subscribe, as you know, is so that you'll be inundated as to when we give your contents out. And we'll be doing so every day at 6 o'clock, except for Fridays and Saturdays. For those who are just passing through, please don't go. Like, share, and subscribe. Now, as I said before, our guest today is Juanita Kraft. She is a singer, songwriter, and recording artist. She's also a retired aerospace engineer, entrepreneur, professional network marketer, and a single parent. Juanita is a premier for Black in Engineer, being one of the first, or rather, the first Black woman aerospace engineer to work for the Air Force Wright Laboratory, the Delta Airline, and the Federal Aviation Administration in the early 1930s. Juanita was an early graduate of the dual degree program in Atlanta, Georgia, and she earned physics degree from Spelman College and a mechanical engineer degree from Georgia Tech. As a gospel singer, songwriter, Juanita has performed on 7 international gospel tours and has released her first studio album, God Has a Plan for You. She is now recording her second project. Juanita's vision is to create a global music ministry as she becomes highly successful and recognizable artist and a global leader. Juanita is a very successful network marketer and she loves helping people and continues to learn and grow and pursue God's will for her life. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Juanita Kraft.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hello, Juanita. Man, you're looking younger and younger every day. I haven't seen you. When was the last time I saw you? Whoa.
Oh,
Maybe
it has to have been at
10,
least
15
10
years?
years, at least 10. But Carolyn,
Wow.
let me. I know I'm looking young because you said I was finished filming in the 1930s. I must be
Oh, did
be
I say
about 90
1930s,
years old right now.
1980s? That was a slip of the tongue. Girl, you can expect anything from Carolyn.
So it's funny, but yeah, I just want to make sure I
1980s.
corrected that right
Yeah,
there.
1980s.
Yeah,
1980s. And thanks for that correction. Yes.
yeah.
So, how are you?
I am excellent.
Awesome. Thank you so much for stopping by so that we can have a conversation. All right. Now, let's start off from where you were born.
Well, I was born right here in Georgia. That's I'm living here in the Decatur, which is for people that don't know, about 12 miles outside of downtown Atlanta, just a suburb. But I was born in a little town called Statham, Georgia, which is about 12 miles outside of Athens.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother actually delivered me. And
Mm.
just a little extra is that I was born breached,
Mm.
and only about 1 or 2% of people in the world survive that type of birth.
Yes,
So
and it's
just
being
being here
delivered
is a
by a
miracle.
doctor. Yes.
Being here is a miracle for me.
Yes. Well, thank God you're here. You had a purpose.
Yes.
All right, so go ahead. Tell us more about mom, dad, and your siblings.
Well, my mother and father were divorced when I was very young. And my mother was not an educated woman, but she was a very hard worker. She did domestic work for many years until she went to cosmetology school and became a hairstylist and all the things that a cosmetologist does: nails, manicures, pedicures, all those things. And, it just really changed our lives. Um, and then my father was a musician, singer. Um, Pretty much that's pretty much it. He didn't do a
Mm.
whole lot of anything.
Okay.
And we didn't spend a lot of time with him. We knew who he was and he kept in touch with us, but it was my mother who literally did all the work.
Wow.
And she taught us how to work. She actually required us to start working when we were like 12, 13 years old and making our own money. So I've
Mm.
really never known anything but to have some source of income, and I don't know how to sit still. Let me say that.
In what way did she teach you to,
Well,
to not keep still?
one of the things she did, my mother remarried when I was about 12 years old, and we moved
Mhm.
to Germany, and you have the community housing that the base provides. So people move there on assignment, and then when they leave, somebody has to clean up those quarters and get them ready for the next family to move in. Well, my mother, while she was already doing hair in the beauty shop on base, she got a contract with I guess you would call it housekeeping or maintenance or whatever, to go in and clean those units. Well, my stepfather had 3 girls. So
Mhm.
I have, one sister. Her name is, yeah, whatever it is. But anyway, I have one sister. So that actually was 5 girls, but the baby sister, she was too small. So it was 4 teenage girls who could literally work. And his parents also lived with us. So his mother was also working. So she had a crew of 5 people plus herself, and we would go in and we would clean those units in like no time. Everybody had a room. We've been in and out in about an hour and a half, 2 hours at the most, and we didn't get paid for it. We just had to do it.
Great.
And then we would
Yes.
babysitting and everything. Like, that's how we made our money for us to spend. But other than that, we were like a cleaning crew. And then when we left Germany, we moved to Kansas at Fort Riley, and it continued. She got another contract to do the housing, and we just continued. And when my stepdad retired, we moved back to Oklahoma, which is where I grew up.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure that when they built a brand new house from the floor, but I'm pretty sure everything in there was paid for cash, because my mother saved everything that we made. She just knew how to, I don't know, she knew how to set goals. And she
Mm.
was amazing to me, to be an uneducated woman, but she could set goals like nobody. I've never seen anybody set goals like that lady. I just like, oh my God, she's amazing. And this is funny. The funny thing is that when she set a goal, it was like it started, the motion started right then and there. And most of the time, she reached the goal be ahead of schedule.
But
I was
you
like,
know what?
wow.
But Juanita, I know you for a little while,
Mhm.
and I've seen you and I've watched you, and I've seen you accomplish so much, so many big goals. What about goals? Obviously, you learn from your mom, but other people have parents who set goals. They don't really maybe follow them. What has helped you to keep that goal, pursuing goal, attitude that your mom had, because I believe you got that from her. I really do.
I do too.
And
And
tell me some of the goals that you set out for that you seem maybe impossible, but what kept you going until you were able to achieve it? And while you're doing that, you're telling the audience so that they can maybe emulate you in some way.
well, one of the things that I believe is that so many people allow their past to dictate their future. Like, I can't do this because my father was this way, or my
Mhm.
mother was that way. And what I realize is that so many people some people may grow up having the same mother, father, same circumstances, but it's how you see yourself in the future that really determines your behavior and the things that you do,
Mhm.
just making smart decisions. And so, for instance, um, I started out in college. No, let me tell you the first goal I set.
Yes,
Very
tell me
first
the
goal.
first one. Yes.
Okay, because when I was 5,
Mm-hmm.
I had this compulsion to learn how to sew. I wanted to know how to sew so badly. And I started out, just taking pieces of fabric. And no, I started out doing Barbie doll clothes. They had this
Mm-hmm.
store called TGNY, and they had the patterns already printed on a piece of fabric, and you could cut it out and sew it together by hand. So that was the first thing. And then I started trying to make clothes for myself, not knowing how to do patterns or anything like that. Nobody to
Mm-hmm.
show me because my mother couldn't sew.
Okay.
But I was trying to sew, and I would make shorts and stuff and sew them together by hand and try to put them on and run outside in them and bust them immediately. It was just crazy. But I just had this strong desire, and that's key. You got to have a desire
Yes.
to
Yes.
do something. And so nothing ever became of it. I just kept trying and trying. And then about 7 years later, okay, I was 12 years old, and I was babysitting this couple, and they worked. This couple worked 24/7. They were on a military base, and when I got there, there was another babysitter that was there. I was taking over for her. But when I got there, she was making a dress.
Mm.
And when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? She says, I'm making a dress. I said, tell me how. Tell me how. I was just like, I just got to know. She showed me the pattern. She showed me on the back of the pattern where how much fabric you need and everything based on the width of the fabric. She showed me the notions, what you needed. You need button zippers, what all, and she showed me everything. And then she showed me that inside of the pattern, there was instructions that showed you step by step how to make anything. And I was like, oh wow. So when I left there, that next, because I was doing babysitting overnight, and
Mm-hmm.
I lived 2 doors down. The very next morning I left, I went and told my dad, I'm like, look, I gotta go to the fabric store, and I gotta buy this fabric because I'm gonna make a dress. And that's exactly what I did. But but initially I had the desire. I wanted it so bad. So if I didn't have that desire initially, when I walked in there seeing her sewing a dress, I was like, so what? What you
Yes.
doing? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
because it was something that I wanted,
To do.
when I saw it, I immediately started paying attention. And I'm going to tell you something. I bought the same pattern as her. She had it. I don't know what fabric she had, but the dress was like the baby doll dress, with the little things the elastic under the boobs, and
Mhm.
the little elastic around the arms and elastic around the neck. And I made I'll tell you right now, it was a light pink with hot pink polka dots on it, and it was lined because that she lined hers, and I did exactly what she did. I
Okay.
just imitated her,
Uh-huh.
and from that point on, I made every single thing that I wore in junior high. I made all my clothes in high school. And when it came to like Easter, special occasions, my parents would give us money to go shopping. My sisters would take their money, they'd go buy a dress and one pair of shoes. I'd take my money because I could sew, and I'd make two dresses. I'd have two dresses and two pair of shoes. I'd have twice what everybody else had because I knew how to sew.
Wow.
That was just the first thing. But like I said, it starts with desire, and if you don't want it, I promise you, it won't happen.
Happen. So
It
true.
won't happen.
So
And
true.
so, but
Action is important too, right?
and you also attract what you want.
You
You don't
want.
attract what you don't
Yes.
want.
That's why you
So
saw her.
I saw it. As soon as I
Yes.
saw it, I recognized it just that fast. And it was like, when I tell you life changing, I don't know her name, but she literally changed my life. And I probably would have learned how to sew in home ec and all of that kind of stuff. But when I tell you, when I got in home ec, I was already sewing and doing that. I learned a few things how to make, those mock apple pies and stuff. That's what they teach you, how to make a apple pie with those crackers and
Mhm.
stuff. But I knew how to do everything. I learned a few different stitches, how to hem different. But I was making stuff that I was wearing things that had made when I
Yes.
started
And that's
sewing.
when you look different because you're not sold in the stores or anything like that.
Everything was
Original.
custom. Yeah, I did it.
Mhm.
I did them myself. So that was just the first goal setting type of thing. But I would see my mother. She set goals. Would she have us selling candy and things like that? And she'd say, "Okay, we're going to sell. We're going to win this candy selling contest. We're going to sell $1,000 worth of candy." And everybody else was selling $200
Jay,
worth of candy. We were selling a
that's where
thousand
you got
dollars
that from.
Yeah,
That's
we
where
set
you got
these
that
huge
from.
goals that we thought we would never be able to accomplish, and we would just do it a little at a time. Every day, 2, 3 days a week, she'd take us out, take us on the other side of town where all the rich people live, and we get out there and walk the street, knock on the door, walk street line. We did it we had a script, and we did it. And the next year, she said, "Okay, so this year you're gonna do $2,000 worth." You remember World's Finest chocolate with the almonds in it?
Uh-huh.
We sold so much of that candy. Let me tell you something. Nobody was when the person who sold the most candy
Uh-huh.
became the queen or king of the school.
Yeah.
I know they were so glad when we left because nobody
Nobody else was queen or king.
ever, 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 as long as we were there,
Oh
never,
boy, that
ever.
was so nice to hear.
That was just it was,
So
and that's how she taught us.
yes,
You could just never lose with her on your side, and
yes,
I was so blessed to have her
yes. I remember
as a
meeting
mother.
her. I met her. I can remember meeting.
No excuses
Yes, yes,
ever.
yes. No
You
wonder
know,
you're such a go-getter, Juanita.
all
No
I gotta
wonder
thank
you're
you so
such
much.
a
All I
go-getter.
gotta say is this: if she could do it with no college degrees,
Mm-hmm.
I know doggone well I could do it with 2 college degrees, and all of the, you know what I'm saying? It's just
Uh-huh.
so many people make a zillion excuses for
Uh-huh.
not
Mm-hmm.
accomplishing things. And I can't allow myself to use excuses as a reason not to accomplish goals or things that I say that I want to do. You say you want to do things, but then you don't take
Do
not
it.
a single step towards that. And if if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to have exactly what you have today.
Mm. Was there any goals at all that you set that you found you never ever achieved?
Well, there were some things, like I said, there were some things that, I might have said I wanted to do. But see, bottom line, if you really, really want to do it, you're gonna do it.
Gotta do it, yeah.
And so there are some things that I thought I wanted to do. I got started, and maybe halfway through I realized this
Yeah,
is really
that's not
not
for you.
it's not
Okay.
for me. And then I changed. Say,
Yeah,
you know what, I'll set a new goal. I don't care. I'm just, cause I set a goal doesn't mean I have to complete it. But the
yeah.
things that I really want to do, and I say that for anybody, things you really want to do, you get them
And
done.
that's the difference.
Yeah.
If you really, really want to do it, if it puts fire in your belly,
Yes.
you
It's
know,
the
you
desire.
need it to do, yeah, the desire.
It's
Yeah.
desire.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So tell me about I know you have a lovely girl and a boy, yeah?
Yes.
That's tell me what's their names and how are they with the family with you?
Well, well, my daughter, she's the
They're
oldest.
grown up. They're grown up now, right?
Yes,
'Cause I
Sierra's
remember the last time.
35.
Yes.
She's an ordained minister,
Okay.
and she's a licensed esthetician, so she does makeup. She
Uh-huh.
loves what she's doing. Everything she's doing, she's loving it. Okay, and I mean, I'm an advocate for doing what you love.
You love. Yes.
Because so many people get into careers that they hate. Literally can't wait to get off work. Hate the whole
Mm-hmm.
time, and because they don't like what they're doing, they don't do very well. They
Right.
don't succeed as much as they could because they don't have the desire nor the energy. You don't have the energy to do what it takes to get to the top when you don't like it.
Right. True. True.
So I have always been and well basically endorsed my children, do what it is you love, and if I can position you to where you can afford to, because sometimes you have to do what you got to do, okay,
Mhm.
to survive. But if I can in any way support you in you being able to live your dream, I'll do that. So for instance, my daughter, she started out at Tennessee State. She didn't like it. She says, I know what I want to do. I want to do makeup. I said, come on back home, then we'll send you to esthetician school. You go do that. And that's what she's been doing. And now she does that along with being an ordained minister. She does a lot of ministry. Now my son, he followed his mom's footsteps in a way.
He's into
Uh,
music, right?
he's into music. He's
Yeah.
a singer. Neither one of them did the engineering thing. When I tell you, neither one of them like math and science. They probably skip a generation. I expect my grandkids to probably be scientists, but
Mhm.
he actually has a degree in audio production,
Wow.
and so he's a singer, songwriter, producer. And he has two recording studios that he rents and so forth. So he does that to generate money. He loves what he's doing. He's very good at it, and he's writing for some popular artists now. So which is very, very exciting, because even though I write, I only have written songs for myself, and I haven't. Even though I love writing, I think I do. I think I'm a really good writer. I don't write that much. I might
Mhm.
write a song a year,
Mhm.
except when I first started, I was writing song after song after song. But even during that period when I was writing, no, I wrote about seven or eight songs. Um, he writes 5 songs a week. It took
Wow.
like
Really?
7 months to write.
Mercy, mercy,
Exactly.
mercy,
But
mercy.
then again, I was working full time. I was
And I
doing
was about to go on to that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was
As
working
a
full
single
time.
mom.
I was
Yes.
raising 2 kids by myself. I was
Yes.
managing a home. I was doing a lot of things, which didn't allow me to just focus on writing songs and music.
Aren't you
So
thankful to see, as a single mom, your kids turning out so well? You
absolutely,
must be
because let
so
me tell you
grateful,
something. I
grateful, grateful, grateful.
was afraid when I first got divorced.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was afraid that my children would not get what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I grew up mostly with a single parent as well, and
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't have the benefit of having a dad there to give me that self esteem. Like the little girl sitting on her daddy's knee. I didn't have that lap time with my dad. I didn't have anybody to show me how I should be treated by men, and so. And they say that your first love should be your father. My first love was
Yeah,
not
that's what they say.
my father. He was not. He wasn't there. And when I did see him, he didn't act like a father to me. I didn't know what it's supposed to be like, but I never felt safe, if you will. And I didn't, I know what it's like to not have a dad in your life. And I didn't want my children to have to
Yeah,
experience
it's the same.
what I experienced. And so I was afraid that I wouldn't be enough. And that they would be insecure, or you have low self-esteem or all types of things that you imagine, and the truth is they do suffer. You can't, I don't care how smart you are and all that kind of stuff, unless you have, some support. It's tough for a single parent trying to raise kids and have them be complete.
Yeah. What would you say now, though? Now that looking back, you've been through it, you have children. What advice would you give to single parent? If they're single parents, you know, it is what it is. What would you advise them so that they can come out like you have with your children?
Well, first of all, um, one of the things I did was I definitely put them in sports so that they
Mhm.
would learn how to be, first of all, their athleticism so they can build muscle and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted them to start young in sports so that they could develop some skill sets, for one. My daughter had asthma initially when she was little, so I wanted to definitely strengthen her lungs. So I had them in soccer.
Okay.
And then you have coaches and things like that, which in other team members they teach you discipline and all that kind of thing. So those are some of the things that I personally couldn't just teach them. So being active, have them active in sports and things like that is also um, very it helps them to learn. And then the other thing that I would recommend is having mentors. Put them in activities like choir at church. Definitely send them to church. Put them in church, because my children, they go to Sunday school. They learn how to pray. They listen to the ministers, the youth ministers, and everything like that. And then they are able to be friends with other Christian children.
Hmm.
And so that kind of plants the seed, because later on in life, they're going to be challenged with, are these the people I'm going to be with, or those are people I'm going to be with? And they could have gone either way, I guarantee you. And, and then also as a parent, a lot of times you say you just want to be friends with, I don't want to cause a ruckus. But sometimes you just got to put your foot down with these kids, especially boys. You better, they'll tell you they're not, like my son. Let me tell you, when he was a senior, and in the morning time, he would just be laying in the bed like sleeping, and I'm like, it's time to go, time for you to go. Oh, Mom, my teacher don't care. I said, when you get an F, okay, he really doesn't, and he'll give you an F in a second. Oh, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. You just being negative. Like, you better get. You better get your behind up and let's get out of here. And I would have to yell and stomp and do all kinds of things, and then had to put him in the car, literally put him in the car and drive him to school. When I tell you the school is directly across the street,
Great.
only, listen, my cousin was living with me at the time, and she said, "You spoiling him." I said, "Let me tell you something. If he don't graduate, I'll be taking care of him for the rest of his life. I'm not necessarily doing this for him. I'm doing this for me, okay? You can say what you want to say. You don't have any children, but I'll be damn, excuse my expression. if I'm gonna let him lay up in the bed every day and not go to school, and then at the end of the year he gets left back because of a PE class. Are you kidding me?" So yeah, I had to, I can't,
Tough
you can't
love.
always be their
Tough
friend.
love, right? Tough love.
Absolutely, I believe in that, and they appreciate it later on, because I'm gonna tell you something. You've gotta discipline. You gotta put the fear of God in them when they're little,
Yes.
because if you don't, once they get big, they are not going to be afraid
Yeah.
of you. They are not. And the truth is, my children, both of them, were bigger than me by the time they were 9 years old. I was the smallest thing in my house,
Yes.
but they knew better than to cross me. So, but they had to learn it young, when they were little. And that way, then they'll have the respect for you. And that's all I can say, is that you got to, and then oh gosh, what are the respect?
Mm.
You can't do things in front of your kids You can't do things in front of your kids and then tell them don't do it.
Right.
They have to have
For
respect for you,
example.
or
Hmm.
they won't listen to you. They won't. And there's some sacrifices you have to make. In relationships and things like that, you cannot do anything you want in front of your kids.
Mm.
And so, yeah, and you can't put men in front ahead of your kids.
Hmm.
They have to know that
Yeah,
they're your
priority.
priority. And
Hmm.
I mean, I imagine I could have got married. I don't think I even got close to
Hmm.
remarriage, but I always knew that I was not going to. There's a certain kind of man that you can put over your kids,
Mm.
and they have to be respectful, trustworthy, because some of these men, you thinking that you love them and all that kind of stuff, and next thing you know, they're molesting your children and all
Mm.
that kind of stuff. You got to be careful, and that how they treat them, how they discipline them, and all of that. So
Mm.
all that came into play with me. I just had a special way that I wanted my children to be raised, and I didn't want just anybody um, parenting them, and because I wanted them to feel a lot of love.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so we're coming to the end of the interview at the
Mm-hmm.
moment, but this one question, this 1980 come up again. In the 1980,
Yeah.
you were known as the first, and let me get it right, first Black aerospace engineer.
Yes,
Correct me if I'm incorrect.
that's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
when I
What was
started
that
out,
experience like? Man.
well, first of all, it wasn't intentional. Okay, I wasn't like I was trying to be the first
Yeah.
or anything like that. But I was always really good in math and science and everything like that, and I chose engineering specifically to have a challenge. I needed an academic challenge, so I
Mm.
did it. And I finished Spelman. I got a degree in physics, and them people. I'll tell you this. I didn't even start out in physics. I started out in biology, but I didn't like formaldehyde, the smell of it, and whatever. So, come junior year, I added up my hours and said, "Hey, you know what? What's going to be my major now?" And I said, "How many? Which one of these curriculums can I be in to get to finish the soonest?" And I turns out I had more physics classes than anything else. So I said, okay, physics it is. So then I studied and I got a degree in physics. And then I was in a dual degree program. And so the other part was to go to Georgia Tech. And I started and I did the mechanical engineering curriculum there.
Mm.
And so I did last year, I did what we call it internship or whatever, co-op at MARTA here, the Rapid Transit Authority. And they ended up having some type of freeze, and I didn't want to be a part of it. So a recruiter reached out to me and recruited me to go to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base there in Ohio, and that's where I first gained the title of aerospace engineer. There were no other women there. There were women there. They were doing other things. They had some computer people and other types of things, but there were no women engineers.
Engineers.
There were no other Black engineers. So I was the first there. And
Mm.
the other Black women that were there, uh, uh, they were amazed because they'd never seen a female Black engineer before. Okay. So, but at any rate, I was just first. And so it was, I
So
guess you would say a little lonesome. And
did you find you were discriminated against in any way at all? Did you?
it's a little different in that, they call it inclusion, something, they call it, diversity and inclusion and something else. But
Mm.
you'll there, we were in the North, mind you.
Yeah.
So, um, they didn't say anything discriminatory, but this is the deal. You're in an environment where in order to succeed, you need mentorship. You need somebody to say, hey, this is what you need to be doing. This is what you need to be focused on, that type of thing. I think that anything that you want to improve in, it's always good to have a mentor,
Yeah,
somebody to
true.
show you the ropes.
That's true.
Otherwise, you're trying to figure it out all by yourself. And
Yourself.
that's what that was the experience that I had. Nobody would show me anything. Nobody would help me do anything. So I would just kind of do it on your own. And, thankfully I was smart enough to get everything done. But I feel like I could have done more, and it could have been more of a pleasant experience had I had someone like a mentor
Mentally.
that I knew was there to help me, and that I didn't have. And
Mm.
then as I went on to work at the FAA here in the Federal Aviation Administration here in Atlanta, then that's when I did notice some discrimination. Um, in fact, when I went there to interview or trying to get in for an interview, they were telling me there are no jobs available. I'm sorry, there are no jobs available. Then I find out later that they were hiring people left and right, but they were
Mm.
telling me that there were no jobs available. And fortunately, I had sent my resume to headquarters, and when the headquarters contacted them and said, "Hey, how come you're not hiring any Black engineers?" They were saying, there aren't any available. And Atlanta at the time was graduating the most Black engineers in the entire country because of the dual degree program. That was the first program that was focused on graduating Black engineers. And I will say that many people that went to school with me and graduated with engineering degrees never was hired as an engineer.
Mm.
They
Wow.
were never hired. But yeah, I was verbally attacked by some of my coworkers, and I'm not one to lay down. So we had little battles and all that kind of thing, but I hung in there, and I think that they were kind of I would say I was just never one to just lay down and be intimidated or anything like that, and think maybe that's why I ended up being first, because somebody has to pave the way, somebody has to take the knocks and the punches and things like that. I didn't want to do that, but I knew that I would definitely be one that would stand up if it had happened, when it did happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that I opened the door for a lot of people, whether they know it or not, that made it easier for people like myself, black people and Black women, to be there. Because as I stayed there for I was at FAA for 26 out of the 30 years.
Wow.
And then there ended up being, maybe I would say 5 or 6 other Black engineers, male and female, not, even though the office was probably had about 40, maybe 40, 45 engineers, still much of a minority, as far as Blacks.
Wow. Yes, you paved the way.
Yeah.
And you're doing it, and you don't even realize you're doing it by just being
I didn't
strong,
ask for it. I promise you I didn't ask for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to come to the end of this part. I think we'll have part 2, because we still haven't spoken about music. You're a writer. You're a singer. I'd love to hear some more about that. And also, you network as well.
Yes.
So when we get back for part 2, we're going to have a conversation about that. But I really enjoyed the conversation this morning, and I hope that those looking on got something from it. Oh, you need to be, you need to persevere. You have to have goals and achieve them. You need to be determined, and action makes things happen. So thank you again. And until I see you again when we meet for part 2.
All right.
Good.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Yes, that was a great conversation we had with Miss Juanita Croft. Wow. Strong woman, single woman, worked so hard. All her children are grown up, and she's done so well. You haven't even heard half of what she's done. I've watched her. I've met her. we became friends, and it is a wonderful experience to just connect with her. She teaches you a lot. Now, I'm going to read a quote here as I normally do. And I'm going to do two. There's one here that says, you've got to get up every morning with determination if you're going to bed with satisfaction. You've got to get up every morning with determination if you're going to go to bed with satisfaction. And this is a thought by George Larimer. And another thought from Dwayne Dwyer. If you believe it will work out, you'll see opportunities. If you don't believe it will work out, you'll see obstacles. Let me repeat. If you believe it will work out, you will see opportunities. If you don't believe it will work out, you will see obstacles. Think about it. This is Carolyn from Express saying bye-bye.